Hello, zombies. I'm really excited for this video because it's different for my channel, but what is more glam than being healthy and feeling good and feeling confident? So that's why I still think that this is appropriate for the Glam&Gore channel, and I know that a lot of you have been asking for this video for months, so I wouldn't want to put it on my second channel where it's harder for people to find. Yes, I do have a second channel. No, I don't really use it. Yes, I'm going to someday. Anyway, but today we are obviously talking about my fitness transformation, like the title says. And yes, like the title spoils for you, I've lost 6 inches in my waist. But let's talk about all the other things and how I did it, because there's a lot that I did. This is going to be a long video, as you can already see from... Because this is a fitness-related video, and because I've seen other fitness-related videos on the internet, I know how this goes, and I know that it is better to just get a bunch of disclaimers right out of the way. Here are my disclaimers. This video is not me saying anything about you, what you should do, or what you should look like. Neither. I'm not saying either of those things. Let me make that real clear. It is only me telling you what worked for me because I didn't feel good and I was not happy. I know that a lot of people have a lot of varying opinions about what works best, what is healthy, what is unhealthy. I am operating under the mindset that I've tried a lot of different things, and things that have worked beautifully for other people haven't worked for me, which is also to say that what works for me will not necessarily work for you. What works for me had a lot to do with how picky I am about certain things, like I'm a very picky eater. I am picky about the kind of cardio that I do, the kind of workouts that I do. I'm a picky person. So by no means is this me saying this is the only way to do it. I'm not saying this is maybe the healthiest way to do it. I tried very hard to have health in the forefront of all of this, because that's where this started. Was I felt like my health was very quickly deteriorating kind of out of nowhere. And that's what forced me to make a drastic and committed change this time in a way that didn't work in previous times, and was also luckily much more effective this time. This time, drink. Every time I say this time. Anyway. But yeah, I'm not telling you what to do. Please don't tell me what to do. Another thing that I want to mention, because I see it a lot on other people's videos and posts when it comes to losing weight or doing any kind of fitness transformation, society has been notoriously overcritical of people for being big or fat or chubby or chunky or anything other than what you see in magazines for far too long. 100%. There's been a movement in the last decade or so, though, where it's swinging the other way, where people are encouraged to love themselves and to understand that you don't have to be a size 2 to be beautiful, and you don't have to be a runway model to be beautiful. And that is amazing, and that's so good, and it's so important, and it's so mentally healthy for people. However, I think that the pendulum has swung really far in the opposite direction sometimes to some people, where we are so pushy about the love yourself idea that I'm seeing so much hate to anyone who does a kind of transformation to their body, where they get hate for not being happy at a size 8 or 10. But I just want to stress that if we are pushing this idea of acceptance for people of all sizes, I think the bottom line should be we should accept if someone is healthy and happy. If you feel good at whatever size, you're healthy, you're doing it right. For me and this whole thing, I did not feel good and I did not feel like myself. So aesthetically, I wanted to make changes because I have a very distinct picture of who I am in my head. I was very active my entire life growing up, and I always had a more athletic body. And then when I started YouTube and I got older, everything changed and I didn't feel like me anymore. I'm not saying I wasn't beautiful then. I'm not saying I'm more beautiful now. What I am saying is I feel more like me. And most importantly, I feel better health-wise. So that is why I did this. Please don't find a way to twist my words into ways that are bad. I think you guys know what I mean. The point is just that you gotta do what makes you happy, and you need to be reasonable about those things, and you also need to not let other people's expectations of you dictate how you look. You feel me? This is all it's kind of a tough topic to talk about because people have so many feelings and opinions about it, and I get why. It's sensitive. I'm trying my best to just make sure that everyone knows I'm not pushing you. I don't think anyone should push you either. I just want everyone to be healthy and happy. That's it. What I want this video to be for you guys is that I hope it serves as motivation for anyone who is watching, who is unhappy about anything in their life, to know that if you take action, you can change it. It doesn't even have to be fitness related. This just isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Don't be discouraged if it doesn't work. Don't be discouraged if my starting weight and size is smaller than your current size, because that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. Again, this is all just personal preference, and we should be able to have our personal preferences. And my personal preference for myself has nothing to do with what I think anyone else should look like. Disclaimer done. Now, let's get into the fun stuff. Like I've said, I've tried many diets, tricks, hacks, lifestyle changes that I even thought would be sustainable. I've tried going vegan, I've tried going vegetarian, I've tried going pescatarian, I've never really liked red meats, so that was never like a thing that I did. I've tried full body circuit training type things. I've tried lots of cardio with little weightlifting. I feel like I've tried everything. And it took me probably about 4 full years to find the combination of things that I can see me doing forever, to make this not this temporary struggle and torture, but a long-term easy thing to sustain, where I get to live a normal life that doesn't feel super restrictive, and also feel and look how I want to look, and know that I'm healthy and active and mentally healthier. But for this journey, I got really serious because I got to team up with Steve Zim at the exact time that things were going haywire with my health. So he will be walking us through a lot of this video as well. He helped me get to a spot that I could never get to quite by myself. And that's not to say that you can't get to it by yourself, but for me, I needed that extra push. So a lot of what I'm about to tell you is just coming from what he told me to do. I can't take a lot of credit for coming up with this stuff. Steve is the superstar of this video, basically. I'm gonna leave a lot of links down in the description for all of these things I'm talking about, all of his resources that go way more in depth. But here is me on day 1, right before I started training with him. Fancy Steve, fancy Steve, fancy Steve. He's zooming on that. Steve.
Do you mind measurements with your shirt off?
No, that's fine.
Okay, because it's what we're doing here.
Cue sexy music.
Okay. Okay. Now, your waist is here, but we're taking it lower. We're going to take it and the furthest out.
At the love handle?
Yes.
That's my least favorite part of this, Steve. So
Okay.
feel free to just chop those off.
I want everybody to look at this. We're going to see a really sharp line when we're done here.
It hurts to hold it this long.
Jump on the scale. 133 and a half. We take it in 3 spots. That for men is one place, for women is the other. So, right here. And then the last one is right on the apologize. For everybody at home, this is not fun. This is our start value.
That's my body fat percent?
Right now.
That seems high, right?
Well, you're more what I call like a skinny fat. No one would think of you.
Okay.
But percentage-wise, it's gonna, I'll show you how it works. Acceptable 21 to 25, fair 26 to 29, unacceptable 30 plus.
Where do you think we can realistically get me after 6 to 8 weeks?
Let's see,
If I eat really well.
I think we could get to good, to top of 20.
Really?
Yep.
Initially, this was supposed to be a 6 to 8 week process, but as I will explain, life gets in the way and changes things sometimes. But I'm kind of glad that this ended up being a 5-month process, because 5 to 6 month process, because now I can say for sure that 1, this is sustainable very long term for me, not just for a month and a half, and 2, it works long term. So let's talk about some of the main rules that I followed in the last half a year. These are not hard and fast rules that I followed religiously, which is nice actually, because that means I got great results from something that was not severely strict. I can't be a severely strict person when it comes to eating and working out. I've learned that about myself. I'm okay with it. Luckily, I found a balance where I still make progress, but I didn't beat myself up if I couldn't do it for a full week. I think somewhere in there I couldn't do some of these things for a full month. Whoops. So when it came to working out.
Day 1, workout 1.
It's been a while.
Here we go.
The very first thing that I did is I worked out 5 days a week, weightlifting.
Squeeze, good, hold. Now pull in, hold, let it out.
As far as Steve's style goes, I really liked his because I have worked with a trainer in the past, and not to say that he wasn't amazing, but I don't think it worked as well for my body as Steve's style. The style that I was used to from a previous trainer was full body type workouts, and I didn't feel like it leaned me out in the aesthetic way that I was going for, and Steve understood my concerns with that, and he was very specific to isolating muscles that he knew would help give me that like long, lean, muscly look that I was going for, and I'm still going for. When I did more full body things, it was really hard on, I feel like my heart. I have a heart condition, so I'm very self-aware. What's that word? There's a word for that. Hypochondriac. I'm a little hypochondriac about my heart, and I always felt like the full body things were too much for me.
The exercises we do here isolate the muscle and muscle group we want, so we're not swinging weight, we're actually controlling it. This is a 2.5 pound weight.
Stop, you're making me look pathetic. I know that a lot of videos say this, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate it because I'm sure there are some people typing a comment about this right now. Muscles allow you to kind of mold your body within your genetic framework. If I want to look like I have a smaller waist, I can build up my shoulders. That's part of why shoulders are my favorite thing to train. I want those sexy capped shoulders like Sarah Connor. That's what I want. And some of you are gonna think that's too muscular and manly, and to that I say, I don't care. I think it's cute.
Stretch it out.
Oh, why does that hurt so bad? Steve is the master of giving you workout assignments that you think aren't gonna hurt, and they hurt worse than anything you've ever done in your life.
Because we're not using any momentum. We're really isolating the muscle. You'll see it's very different. You don't have to use a lot of weight.
I wish you could feel my heart rate through your screen.
Stretch it out. And now open. Go. Keep your thighs on the pad. Don't push with your feet. Up or left. 1, 2, 3. One more. Yeah. Beautiful.
Must you close up on my pain?
Okay. And so she goes, kicks back like everybody knows, but the twist is the big difference.
I like that Steve uses more traditional type exercises and movements. Like I got to use a lot of machines that just isolate the muscle that he wants to focus on. We would do usually at least 2 leg days a week and usually 3 upper body days a week. We did abs every day, and that was a struggle for me because I apparently have broken abs that don't want to work right. It took a long time to figure out what exercises worked for me ab-wise. These worked. I don't know the science around it. I just know that these butterfly sit-ups made it so that I didn't feel my ab workouts in my back because everything I tried, I always felt in my back. And eventually I could work up to a few other different ab exercises. But Steve was very persistent to just keep doing what was working for me, and eventually they would strengthen enough that we could go elsewhere and do other things, which was true. The ab exercise that ended up being my absolute favorite thing in the entire world, this longboard thing, where we just took a longboard and I used it underneath of a normal bench, and I crunched my abs on the way up, and I never felt that in my back. I had started to see a big difference with my obliques after I started doing that one. I also found out that I breathe wrong. Who knew? I feel like that's something that a lot of fitness videos don't talk about, so I didn't know for the longest time.
Before you start your sit-up, you actually lock your abs in. This is where everybody makes a big mistake. So what we have to do is we have to set up the abs. It's all about the breathing. If you breathe wrong, you're going to end up with a really muscular pot belly. So this is very important. Get in position, whichever setup you're doing. This is just one we can see really easy on. Knee is bent, legs straight out. Take a deep breath out, pull your belly button into the ground. Ready? Breathe out, pull it in, hold it there. Keep breathing out. Now bring this knee in, do a little sit-up. Keep breathing out, go all the way back. Now the abs are going in, so we're building the muscles because they're contracting all the way. Otherwise, they don't get to fully contract. If we don't get to fully contract them, we don't get flat abs.
When I worked out with Steve, he had me do light weights and high reps. So what we would frequently do is I would do a really light weight so that I could get to 20 repetitions, and I would need to be able to sustain that for 4 whole sets. So it's very time consuming to do it that way. I can't just like pump out 8 of my best reps and then move on. So I would maybe only do like 6 different exercises per gym session sometimes in an hour. The funny thing is that my goals have always been, since I was a teenager, I remember looking at girls that were today's fitspo, you know, like those super fit but still really feminine girls. I've always thought that that was the most beautiful, aesthetically pleasing body that I would want for myself. Again, I'm not saying that for everybody, I'm just saying for myself, I have always wanted that. And that wasn't even popular back when I'm so hipster about this. I liked fitspo models before it was a thing. Don't at me, but it's true. But I love that strong has become this thing that is now considered sexy in a way that it wasn't really when I was growing up. Here's what I want to be eventually. This is my end goal, so I'm not there yet. So take all that in mind too. I'm getting to my after pictures eventually, but to me, they're progress photos because I got more to go. I tried to get at least 3 days a week of cardio. I hate cardio, so I didn't do that very consistently, but the weeks that I did do it consistently were my best progress weeks by far. So if I ever combined the weightlifting and then hit cardio right after for a week, that was crazy results for me. I shrunk down so fast that way. The cardio that I could stand is to do hit cardio on a treadmill. And basically all I did, it's nothing new or super creative. I put the treadmill up to like 8 miles an hour, which was the most I could stand. I would run for 30 seconds and then I would rest for a minute. And some people like to just walk for the minute that they're resting and then run. But I found that it wastes too much time switching the treadmill speed from that to that. You know, I'd rather just hop off, let it run. I would do 25 sets of on, off, on, off, on, off. That lasted for about half an hour. And then if I was feeling really good and I wanted to keep going, I would put the treadmill at an incline and set the speed to like 3 miles an hour. And then I'd just walk uphill until I was dripping in sweat. But again, I didn't do cardio very often to get where I am right now because I hate it. I would watch Judge Judy while I did cardio, and that made it a lot easier to deal with. Let's get into the hard stuff and where I think all of the magic really happened for me. Eating. The thing I've always struggled with, the thing that I've never figured out up until now, is how to eat and not undo my results or make my results very minimal. There's always been a disconnect between what is healthy that I can stand eating, and sometimes there have been healthy things that I've figured out that I like, but for some reason they just don't do much for me. They haven't changed much for me. What I figured out is, 1, I am okay with eating the same thing over and over and over and over again as long as I like it. I found a few things that I could kind of mix and match, but that I could eat every day, and someone's gonna tell me that's bad for me. But whatever, it worked, I feel great. This is the moral of the story. That's the first thing. Find meals you like. That's also hard for me because I don't cook. I don't like cooking. I don't know how to cook. I'm a terrible cook. I feel like ain't nobody got time. Anytime I looked up recipes online that had any more than like 2 ingredients and 20 minutes of prep time, I was out. It's not sustainable for me. And I know that to some of you, that's going to seem absolutely absurd and ridiculous. And you might say to someone like that, well, of course you're not gonna lose weight then. Of course you're not gonna get healthier. Of course you're not gonna look how you want. You have to be able to cook something. Not true, my friends. I found a way. My main staples were spinach, black beans, lean ground turkey, and eggs or just the egg whites. So the goal was to kind of just always repeat some version of that. My go-to was 1 serving of lean ground turkey, 1 serving of black beans unsalted so that I could wean myself off of a lot of salt, and 1 serving of spinach. I tried for a while to just do spinach, but I quickly found that realistically, I needed like creamed spinach to get through it. And yes, it's not the best for me because yes, that is a processed frozen food. I understand that. But I found one that had very simple ingredients that didn't seem like it had a lot of added crap to it as far as those things go. Could I be healthier? Absolutely. Is it better than how I was eating? Absolutely. Did it work for me? Yes. And if I got bored of the turkey, then I would switch it out for eggs or egg whites and still kind of mix in like spinach and black beans. I know, it's really boring. You don't have to do this. I liked it. Now, I have a freaking sweet tooth and I like to munch on things, and I am absolutely an emotional stress eater, bored eater. Like I have bad habits with food that have been really hard for me to work around. Luckily, this works because anytime I could not bear the idea of eating more ground turkey and spinach or anything else that was an equivalent healthy, I found some in between, not the best for me foods, but also not the worst for me foods that made me feel like I was cheating. They gave me the mental and emotional satisfaction that I needed out of being able to eat what I want, which I know is a lot of the root of my problems. Because normally if I wanted to feel like I wasn't restricting myself, I would just eat candy or pasta. Oh my God, I love pasta. I could with pasta. Pasta and cheese and everything bad for you, all the processed carbs, all those things. I could eat that for life. But instead, these are some substitutes I found that were not the best, but not the worst. I would cheat with spinach and goat cheese empanadas. They were homemade locally around me, so they weren't super bad, but I loved those. Sushi, I freaking love. Also a treat. Sometimes I would just get a Philly roll because if it would stop me from binging on Reese's cups later, I would do that. Another bit of a cheat, this is not the best, but it's not the worst, is RX bars. I love them because they are really clean ingredient protein bars. If I wanted to be really bad, sometimes I would be. I'd have Reese's. I'd have sour gummy worms. I love sour gummy worms. And as many of you know, if you've been watching my channel for the last few months, I really like vanilla Coke. Yeah, so I would have those sometimes if I really wanted them. If I was really, really stressed and I thought that a Coke would make me feel better, I did it. The nice thing is that even though I know that is not a healthy statement, even though I know that's not a good thing and it's clearly something that I need to work on, this whole process has allowed me to work on it because I want those things. I reach for those things a lot less often than I used to. I know what it feels like now to not be tired and lethargic and miserable and unhappy and like my body feeling bad. They're not out of the picture, but they're less worth it. Like I said, I feel like I'm only beginning my journey, even though you're seeing this as an end result video. So I'm still in mid-process for a lot of these things. Frick. I just realized I said Reese's and someone's gonna yell at me for that. It's Reese's, I know. But I'm from Philly, and in Philly, we say Reese's. We say Reese's Pieces. I know it's weird, but it's Reese's Pieces. I know. The only other thing I ate worth noting is one supplement. I guess it's a supplement. BCAAs. I took these before my workout and after my workout. Steve told me to take these. I'm very, very skeptical about taking supplemental type things, but I did my research on BCAAs. I realized that they're not like a bad thing. I'm not gonna pretend like I can explain the science of this to you. I think you should do your own research for everything I'm saying in this video. They were to help prevent muscle breakdown so that I could heal quicker, recover quicker in between workouts, and hopefully gain muscle while losing fat, which is a hard thing to do at the same time. There's two other things that I did food-wise that are gonna seem a little intense, but they naturally worked out very well for me. I'm sure these would not work well for a lot of people, but I ate a minimum of 5 hours apart. That is a rule from Steve himself because it gets you burning your fat stores if you wait longer apart between meals. So snacking was an absolute no for me. The other thing that I did that Steve did not tell me to do, but that I kind of accidentally ended up doing, is I was doing intermittent fasting. He told me that if I could work out fasted first thing in the morning, I can burn even more fat. I've never been a breakfast person. I don't like eating first thing in the morning anyway. So what was nice is I got to, for the most part, eat 2 really big meals in a day, 5 hours apart. And I was fine that way. Like, I really wasn't hungry because they were really big meals both times. Like, I wouldn't just eat turkey, spinach, beans. If that didn't fill me up, I'd have an RX bar to supplement it or something like that. Or I'd have more egg whites or something, so that I always got enough calories in a day to make sure that I was in a healthy range. If I needed to eat a third time in the day, if I was still really hungry at 1 a.m., I would just eat again. Another thing that I did that was recommended to me by Steve is he told me to mix a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar into a full glass of water and drink that entire glass of water before I ate anything. That way you feel fuller sooner. So I did that pretty religiously. It tastes gross at first, but eventually you kind of learn to like it. Sometimes I would squeeze a lemon into that too, because lemon is good for you and stuff. This video could be a million hours long if I dive into everything, unless I was actively choosing to eat unhealthy because I wanted to not restrict myself. I cut out all processed carbs, white carbs, so pasta, bread, flour, anything with white flour in it, cereal, anything like that. But the biggest, by far, the biggest, most important, most dramatic thing that I changed is that I cut sugar, which I know a lot of you probably don't want to hear because that seems completely impossible and very hard to do and not fun to do. Yes, I just talked about vanilla Coke and Reese's and sour gummy worms. But for the first few months that I did this, I actually didn't touch sugar at all. I swore it off to see what would happen if I truly cut it. And holy shit, I did not enjoy it. I figured I should turn on the camera because I feel like a spaz. Hello, it's day 1. It's day 1 of fully eating the way I'm supposed to. I just want sugar so bad. I just want sugar. Fruit type sugar is okay, but I don't want that kind of sugar. I want the bad shit. I want the shit that is more addictive than cocaine. Like, if you get a rat addicted to cocaine, they will still choose sugar most of the time when given the option. I get it. I feel what the rat feels. I do. And it just makes me sad that America's food is just so full of sugar that there's even sugar in ketchup, and you are just so badly addicted to this stuff that the first day you're not allowed to have it, you go crazy if you're me. I don't know if I can last 8 weeks. Yeah, so it wasn't easy. I legitimately felt symptoms of withdrawal. I was cranky. I had awful headaches. I couldn't think about anything else other than getting sugar somehow. And that in itself was a huge wake-up call for me, and it was scary, and it made me realize that my body, my whole life, has been running on something that is not good for it. But the fact that sugar is in everything, it's in everything, which means that if you want to do the no sugar route, it's really hard. This was by far the hardest part of it for me, but it was also by far the most helpful part of it for me. Because when I cut sugar, I saw results in places I've never seen results in my whole life. I saw muscles I didn't know my body was genetically capable of showing, if that makes sense. Like, I have an Adonis belt forming, y'all, and even when I was in my top physical shape as a dancer, I never saw that on my body because I've always been a sugar addict. I'm guessing that's the reason why I never saw it before. Right now, at this current moment in time, I would give anything for him to just text me and be like, "Eat a cookie tonight, Mikey. You've earned it." This is sad and pathetic, which is why I turned the camera on. I realized how pathetic I was being, and I figured, like, oh, this is the shit you should show people. A lot of the transformation videos show you, like, the good stuff about getting healthy. And I will say that it's not easy. Maybe it will be someday, but right now it's the worst, and I hate it. And if Steve wasn't so nice as to help me, I would say screw it all, and I'd eat all the cookies. When I got rid of sugar, my waist slimmed down so fast and so much more than it ever had trying any other diet where I might have lost 10 pounds and looked a lot better, but I couldn't proportionately get my waist to come back into what it used to be. And it didn't take a waist trainer, and it didn't take a corset, and it didn't take all of these things. It just took cutting sugar. And I've never felt better. I've done other diets and workouts that I had some success with, and nothing has changed my mood and my confidence and my outlook and my health and the way that I feel inside than cutting sugar. So after I got used to that for a few months, I started to allow myself to have some of my sugary favorites every once in a while, which is when I developed a bit of a Coke habit. Not that kind, but still a bad one to have. That's when gummy worms came back into the picture, But they taste different to me now because my taste buds have changed now that I am not used to sugar. So I have a select few things that I still want sugar-wise, and I know that Coke has a shit ton of sugar in it, so I've gone back to limiting that a lot more. But if you want to see results and you haven't tried completely cutting sugar for a few months, try that. See how you feel, and then see how much more able you are to control your sugar urges after you've quit it for a while. Again, it's one of those things where you weigh it, and eventually it's so much more worth it to deal with the hassle of having 95% of foods unavailable to you in a supermarket, but to feel so much better and to see the results you've been working for finally. That's my food rant. That is just the combination of things I found that worked really well for me. If you want a more detailed explanation of all these things, the science behind it, ways to help guide you through it, other food options, Steve has a book, and this book just came out, but everything in this book is what he told me to do, which was what I worked off of for this whole thing. You can get it on Amazon. The link will be in the description down below. Before we get to my final results, I just want to tell you a few more tips or things that I found out along the way that I've either realized or that helped me a lot that might help you a lot. And like I mentioned earlier, these are the kinds of things that I learned because this stretched out longer than a 4 to 6 week process. I had days, I had weeks, I had months in the middle of these 6 months. So it's hard to call it a full 6 months because I definitely put it on pause for a month around the time I went to Coachella. There were weeks where I wasn't getting a video done in time if it meant that I had to take out 2 to 3 hours to go to the gym every day. There were days where I just woke up and felt awful because girl problems, whatever it may be. Life gets in the way. You can't be consistent 100% of the time. If you can, props to you, but I think most people can't be. The thing that always scared me was once I fall off, it was really hard for me to get back on. I thought that I was going to undo everything that I had worked for really quickly because in the past, that is kind of what happened. What I learned this time is when I had bad days or weeks or a bad month, I didn't really rewind my progress. I just kind of put it on pause. So I didn't make any new leaps and bounds by not going to the gym or not eating as good as I could have. I didn't undo all my progress if I ate gummy worms, but I definitely put it on pause. And I think a lot of that is because even when I paused, I still was highly avoiding sugar as a consistent thing in my life. Whereas every other time I fell off the wagon in the past, I went right back to all of my sugars, all of my processed carbs, breads, pastas, all of those things. Now, like I said, my idea of cheating is spinach and goat cheese empanadas and sushi, but still avoiding sugars for the most part. It makes such a big difference, and I really did not lose progress or go back in progress almost at all in 6 months. I gained a little bit back when I got into my Coke habit 2 months ago because I made it more of a regular thing, and then I realized, oh, sugar is the missing link here. Sugar is the reason that I actually can rewind my progress, but I just pause it if I eliminate sugar again. Other than that one time, it's been either all downhill or paused. Luckily, I've also learned it's not even bad if I rewind some of my progress. It's okay if I go back up an inch or two in my waist again. It's okay if I gain back 4 pounds. Again, both things I did at one point. Because I know the tools to get me right back to where I want to be. I know what works for me now. And I only found out what works for me by committing and being consistent at least for a few months first. Those first 6 to 8 weeks, I saw tremendous progress. And then actually there hasn't been a ton of change in the last 3 or 4 months. There are changes I see, but I think someone who is just looking on the outside wouldn't see a big size difference. A lot of my weight came off really quick and then it was slower. And I think that's because I was most consistent in the beginning, and then I learned how to juggle real life in the last few months in a way that is now completely sustainable for me, losing weight or inches or whatever your goal is. It doesn't look like this. It looks like this, but the overall median line, it's been a long time since I've been in math class, but is that median line? You know, the line that you can put through all of your scatter plot things. Wow, I have no idea what I'm talking about. The overall trend goes down if you stick with it and you make it a committed lifestyle change. I don't have my Fitbit on me because I didn't want to ruin my tan. Guys, I got a good tan. Look, I got a good tan. But getting a Fitbit helped me so much. I don't like doing guesswork when it comes to fitness, but I also don't like being super strict. I'd like a rough idea of what's going on, and that helped me do that, where I had a rough idea every day of how many calories I burned. Because I know that at the end of the day, a lot of this comes down to calories in versus calories out. So I could see the calories that I had spent already, the calories going out, and then I could be more cognizant of the calories going in, because I had no idea. I must have been eating like 3,000 calories a day before, thinking that I was only eating like 1,500, and I didn't realize I was nowhere near that. I got to see how often my heart rate was up in a day, and then it became more of a challenge to do more cardio and to get in the fat burning zone more often with my workouts, to like push myself harder. I synced it with my MyFitnessPal for the meal tracking lightly. I got a scale that would input my weight and my body fat percentage and my water weight percentage, muscle percent, BMI, all of that would sync with that, and it was just a beautiful technology web of helping me be aware of my actions. But again, I wasn't super strict with it. There were absolutely days where I went over what was ideal for me. I'd never wanted to undereat. There were days that I found myself not hungry anymore, but I knew that I needed more calories to be healthy, and I would eat more because I am not interested in simply looking a certain way at the expense of health. The whole goal of this for me from the get-go has been to feel better, to know that I'm healthier, and hopefully to get aesthetic changes out of it that I've always wanted for myself. Anyway, the thing that you have probably all been scrolling through the video for, my end results after 5 to 6 months of this lifestyle change. It's crazy, I know. I didn't even realize how much progress I had made until today when I finally got to see them side by side. And I knew that I had come a long way, but you just don't even realize, even like the change in my face. This was worth it before I even saw that because I feel so much better, but the added bonus of looking at myself and feeling like, oh yeah, that's me again, is so nice. Don't wanna share you with nobody else. Steve, I just fixed my hair.
Sorry.
How dare you?
My bad. 11 and under 3/4. It was 12 and a quarter. 37 and a quarter. 41.75. 33. We started at 35 and a half. Once again.
Well, I don't want that measurement to go down.
The chest really didn't go down. It's the back that went down. We tapered it all in. My waist is a little different. I take it from the widest spot, which is not your, like when you go to a tailor, they're not gonna take your waist where I take it. I take it from the widest spot, so I wanna see what the widest spot came in. 27. We started on my waist at 33.25. 34 and a quarter. Started out at 39 and a quarter. So the widest spot through here came in, which is unbelievable number.
I lost all of my butt.
No.
All girls here. What a trainer says, all girls here.
No, but the hips came in. She had hips to lose. That's why that number came in. But when you see, you'll see that the butt is more accentuated now because it's not being covered by the hips as much. So 20 and 3/4. 3 inches off the thigh. Was 13.25, calf is now 12 and a half. So The right thigh was 22.75. The thighs when we started were an inch off. 23.75, 22.75. Let's see where we are today. 20.75. Symmetrical, 12.5. Legs are now completely symmetrical. Let's go to the biceps. 10.
Those won't be. This is my tray arm from when I was a cocktail waitress, therefore it will always be jacked.
10 and a half. Make the muscle.
Yeah. No way are they even.
Are they even or
Don't lie to me. There's no way.
This is a hair off. It's 10 and a half plus on the left hand.
10 and a half plus.
Yes.
I like that.
They look pretty the same.
Oh.
Okay. It's not fun, but it doesn't hurt that much.
Yes, it does.
Sorry, it slipped because of this. After all the pain, this might be worth it.
That's not real.
That's real.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
That's not real.
15.3. Very confident. So let's see what it was before. You basically lost 50% of your body fat. Half of your body fat is gone. Now we do one last thing, and don't get caught up on the scale. The scale is a really crazy thing. The scale, it's probably going to go down as we see, but a lot of times when you put on a lot of muscle, that scale either doesn't move or goes up a few pounds. As long as your clothes are getting loose, your measurements are coming in, your body fat's coming down, that's fantastic. Scale weight is going to tell us how many pounds of fat she lost to how many pounds of muscle she put on. Let's get our shoes on.
Decided to do it dramatically this time.
Those are like snowshoes.
They're not snowshoes.
Originally at 133. 116. You use your body fat percentage and your weight to calculate the amount of muscle you have and the amount of body fat you have. So we started at 86.9 in muscle mass, 46 pounds of fat. That's perfectly fine. You lost 28 pounds of body fat and you gained 11.3 pounds of muscle. Incredible. From 86.9 to 98.2, your fat went from 46 down to 17.8. Huge.
I'm 100 pounds of muscle, baby. Almost.
18 and below is excellent for women. You are now in the excellent percentage.
I started there.
Yes.
We're not going to use that word in my video.
It's about being healthy. It's about getting yourself from point A to point B, that you feel comfortable in your own skin. That's what matters, period. Nothing else. I promise you. Every shape, size, form, as long as you're healthy, you feel comfortable, that's all that matters. I want you confident. She now feels very confident. From the first day I met her, honestly, it's a different person. It's a completely, she carries herself differently. She comes in the gym like she owns it. She's not like, let me see what I can do. She learned how to work out. She learned how to eat. And she's now a much different person. And beautiful either way, honestly. And she's just happier where she is today. And I'm really proud of you.
I feel better, thank you. You're the best. A lot of the health issues that I had on day one are gone or almost entirely gone, and I feel like a new person, but at the same time I feel a lot just like my old self that I haven't seen in 5 years, maybe a bit more. But an even better version, because even before the YouTube stuff, I didn't have as much muscle, and I love having muscle, and I want more, which is why I'd like to do a bikini competition next.
Look at this.
How do I pose like a bikini competitor? Teach me a pose.
Yes, that's one of those.
Is it?
Yes.
I'm a natural. How many likes does it need to get for you to train me for a bikini competition?
400,000 likes.
Wow.
Is that a big number? I
Yeah,
don't
that's a
know.
big number, Steve.
No, 150,000 likes. That work?
I think we can make that happen. We'll do it anyway. Even if we don't hit 400,000, we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right, Steve?
Yes.
So I feel really good and I'm really happy. And my goal for you is that if you're unhappy about something in your life, you take steps to start changing it right now. I did not want to do what I started doing back in January at all. Please reference again the moment that I had a tantrum over not being able to have a cookie. But I'm so glad that Mikey from January made that decision. And I'm really glad that this Mikey has committed to it in a way that is finally healthy and sustainable and just doable for the long term, and that works. I finally figured it out. I literally feel like I cracked a goddamn code. And if you've learned anything that works really well for you, share it. Because like I said, I don't think this is a one-size-fits-all thing. And sometimes it's just about finally finding the thing that works for you and giving it an honest effort and shot. And one more time, a huge, 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 huge thank you to Steve Zim, because I needed his guidance. I cannot thank him enough. So, like I said, links below to check out all of the resources he has available for you guys. You can do a lot of the same stuff that I did. And yeah, thank you, Steve. Thank you. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell, even though it doesn't really work half the time anyway. But I upload once a week, if that helps. So just check my channel once a week. And I will see you next week for more makeup type, beauty type content. There's no way to make a muscle and wave at the same time, is there? Nope. Got it. Bye. I'm stressed. These bags under my eyes are from stress of not eating cookies today. Guaranteed. Anyway, I should never release this to the internet, but if this ends up in the video and you're watching this right now, know that the only reason it's in the video is because the end of this whole journey, I'm gonna be so over sugar and I'm gonna look so darn good and be so healthy and happy and feel great that it was okay to embarrass myself by putting this in here. My struggles with not eating a cookie or a brownie today on kind of day one. Because I went to another trainer before and
You did?
Yeah, before I knew you. Sounds like I'm a pony. Please don't have I guess, what am I thinking of? Like a minotaur? I don't know. How the magic happens, Steve. When you edit it all together, it suddenly is funny.